I want to do a complete and full explanation on a scientific mathematical level of exactly what I did to where I got into like a particular type of anxiety, and and what other people do to get into a particular type, in the more common anxieties and the more common depressions, as well as how to get out of them. And that will generally be like a two-step process. Of course, the goal is to just stop doing what you started to get back to normal. That's the goal. But how do you do that in the particular way in which you need to do that? And I can narrow it down to pretty much a two-step process of how it is your attention on the feeling that is the cause of it, and that you need to get your attention, as in your concentration, instead of on the tension feeling, you need to put the concentration onto really anything else, but especially one thing at a time, just one thing in particular, just off that. Don't put any onto that. And then it's a little bit more of that too, because the tension still kind of might be lingering, and so with that as well, you put your concentration into more like you want to get a gut feeling Tai Chi, but you also, whatever the tension feeling, like in my particular case, because I induced it up in my face and head, I want to even even if I even try to induce it, try to do what I believe as to how I did it in the first place type of thing, go ahead, you can do all that. In fact, that's a good thing. Do that. And as far as exterior muscle is concerned, go ahead, do that. That's good, because the anxiety feeling has nothing, it's not an external type of weightlifting type of it's not that at all. It's like this fear-based type of thing that produces an inflammation type of anxiety. So like the same thing, the inflammation in your nose that gives you a stuffy nose and you can't breathe out of it type of thing, it's that same type of blood happenings that you are actually mind manipulating through the mind loop of either fear-based, and you can either, depression is sadness-based mind loop thought, and anxiety would be like a fear-based mind loop thought, and anxiety would be fears of the future. Depression is mind looping on negative thoughts of the past, okay? And that mind looped, and then concentrated on the feeling itself and wanting to stop the feeling, is how you get stuck in depression. And the opposite is the case for the anxiety. So let me get into, before I explain everything on how to get out of it, like I was just explaining there, let's get into what I did, because this story needs to be told, because no one has ever gotten stuck in the type of horror that I got stuck into. And there's a reason for that. The reasoning for that is because I had to do it in such a very particular way for it to all go down as it did, and for me to get stuck in this really unusual anxiety that is really concentrated up in my head and face and stuff, and stuck in it, like real torture stuck, where it's a painful inner, I always call it inner tension, like an inner squeeze, but it's really, it's an anxiety inflammation type of thing that I was able to get into myself and then just make it induced really hard and painfully through the same methods of what people get stuck in just like an anxiety feeling, except my fear of the, like for other people it'd be like it's a whole body tension, just whole body tension that is caused by, it originated from a looping cause of like the fear-based negative thoughts, whatever, right? But then it holds on in them because they really get freaked out by the feeling of it, and in order to just induce it immediately, they go into a fear of the feeling of it. And then that fear of the feeling of it tells your brain, it makes, all you have to do is think of what that feeling is, and your brain says, oh, you want that feeling? Here it is. And then you're like, no, I don't want that feeling. How do I not do it? But that method of trying to like get it out of you, doesn't work. In fact, the method of trying to stop the feeling within the feeling itself keeps the concentration on it. So it just gets worse. In fact, because you add the fear thoughts to it, it just, everything intensifies. It all makes it all worse. And it wasn't even that bad when you first started it. What really caused the horror of it, what intensified it all, was the, ooh, I don't like this, I want to stop it. And that just keeps the concentration on it. And for me, so it's like that. And like for me too, it was so mind manipulated in such a way, because as far as that last part, like, feel the, get pumped up, yeah, man, yeah, whatever, flex whatever you want or whatever, yeah, come on, baby, come on, right? I was not willing to do that because I thought that would be like tension that's the same as the inner. So I'm trying to stop it within the tension itself while also not going there, what I just did with the come on. Like I'm actually actively not trying to not do that at all. And then also try to concentrate on everything at the same time. But this kind of fear thing caused this horrible tension, and I'm not trying to do the come on like that at all, right? Because I think that's related to the inner anxiety type of tension, but it's not at all. In fact, they're probably the total opposites of each other. And so that was a huge detriment, is to really think like it might be the same thing when it's not at all. Like total opposites. But a lot of that also has to do with the fearing of the feeling itself. In taking control of it is like, go ahead, induce even more of it. I'll try to induce even more of it too, And that when you try to induce it more, it's like, well, it couldn't have been this because I'm trying to induce more of it, and I'm able to like control it and not do it now when I did it. But for so long you're afraid to induce more of this. No, I'm trying to not do it, right? So just a horrible increase of it because of this, of that mentality of it. Now, what I did in particular, I did EEG Biofeedback because, I was super funny class clown, even though I was super smart, a state champion wrestler, even though it was only in 8th grade. We won a state championship, and I was the best wrestler on the team for one example of how athletic I was, right? So I was unusually good at stuff. Voted most funniest kid in my class, right? Big time personality, big time, lots of emotions there. But my biggest problem was, and I will say it is a problem, because in school I was just absolutely easily bored. I wanted to just play sports or something like that. And so I really did have ADHD. And I would get in trouble a lot by being the class clown and stuff. And sent to the principal's office very often, type of thing. So a little bit of a troublemaker there. So, and I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, or definitely not a good thing. I wasn't the go along with everyone else type of mentality. But in any case, the ADHD is what led me to do this biofeedback for ADHD. And what they do, and I'm calling it biofeedback, it's actually called Neurofeedback or EEG Biofeedback. And what they do in the biofeedback session is they put a bunch of electrodes, glue them, basically pin them onto your head, and they read the brain waves. But the thing is, what they also read is if you do kind of muscle flexations, little muscle flexations, whatever, squeeze muscle. So they read that when it's read in the brainwaves, it is read as muscle flexation. Although that muscle flexation type of thing is what I was supposed to try to do with the brainwaves. I was supposed to try to speed them up or like make them bigger and everything. And muscle flexations does that, but it also reads as it'll go beep 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 if you do muscle flexations. So I couldn't do that. But I wanted, from the very get-go, he just put me to electrodes and he said, focus. So I just immediately started like cheating, I think, I just didn't know what he meant by that. I just, when I think of trying to accomplish something, I think of doing something to do it, rather than like, just keep your thoughts on one thing at a time. Like if there's noise, pay no attention to it. Like when you're concentrating on what you're saying or whatever, my attention is on you and what you're saying. If noise is happening, the more constant, or like I'm not thinking about wandering thoughts about, I wonder what I'm gonna eat for lunch as I'm trying to pay attention to you. Okay, that type of thing. Okay, you're just focused, concentrated. Your attention is on one thing. That's really what was supposed to be, what I was supposed to be doing. And I don't know if this Dr. Nash, I don't think he had any knowledge that, that I was doing what I did and all that stuff. But in any case, that's a tangent. But okay, so what I did was, I was trying to do like this inner squeeze. I was basically trying to do as much of attention as I could, but I was trying to kind of keep it all on the inside. I was trying to focus as hard as I could out of my eyes and everything like that. And at this point, so I'm doing this for hours, trying to do it as hard as I can. But at this point, maybe I was starting to feel the inflammation. Maybe I was able to just self-induce that a little bit. Or a lot, but the point is that, the doctor was just like, okay, now, so this is what I'm supposed to do, like, to be able to pay attention, and of course I can. All my concentration is actually on doing this kind of inner squeeze as hard as I could, because the electrodes were up in my head, so I'm trying to get it up and trying to tense up in my head, putting all my concentration on doing this inner tension while trying to pay attention to someone talking. My concentration is on doing this. It doesn't work where I'm able to pay attention to what they're saying, doing what I was doing in the way that I was doing it. I'm sure the doctor would have known that if he understood what I was doing. I don't know if he did or not, or whatever, or he just didn't care, rich kid, blah, 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 willing to pay a fucking ridiculous amount of money to do this. And was like, I don't care. It does keep him from being hyper because it turned me into a zombie, right? I didn't get in trouble anymore. I was just like a comatose man that couldn't even talk or think anymore, just in pure pain. doing that alone wasn't enough to get me stuck in this inflammation tension. Okay, so finally getting to it. What it was, like how I said, well, I'm not able to pay attention to what the teacher's saying as well while doing this. Okay, so I want to stop it. I want to stop doing it. I want to stop doing it is the triggering of where it really goes hardcore bad, because then I go, how do I stop doing it? And in like a fear base on how you stop doing it, you're putting your attention, your attention is on it, and you're trying to stop it within the feeling itself. So you're feeling this real hard, like an anxiety, fear-based tension, like inner tension. In any case, in the trying to stop it within the feeling itself just keeps the attention on it, the concentration on it, because the trying to stop it within the feeling itself just doesn't work. Okay, and meanwhile, but that's the thing. It's like I'm not doing like a focus like this to get it. I'm trying to not do that and only doing it like real inner. So I'm trying to stop it by also not even doing this. I'm not going to do this to stop it. I'm just trying to like unwind it. But no, just all that trying of it just makes it worse. All it is telling the brain, okay, what? You're like, what feeling are you talking about? Oh, this feeling? Yeah, I want it. It's painful. And all it does is just like, here's the feeling. Here it is. And it's like, no, I don't want that feeling, And I'm really putting it up in the head. And it's really the same thing as somebody else with a whole body anxiety, because it was in the body too and everything. Once you start getting to the fear of it and then trying to stop it within the tension itself, the anxiety itself, the feeling. So then I got just so stuck in it, like the pain of it, which came about mostly through feeling the feeling of it, but not the doing of the feeling was so bad. It was the trying to stop it within the feeling itself that really put it into torturous type of tension pain. And then once you're in that, in trying to stop it, you're really stuck in it, because really that tension, because your concentration is so into the tension, it really blocks any other types of thoughts or how you were just able to function and see before you ever even started doing this. And you need those other thoughts, you need the thoughts not concentrated in it to get out of it, right? So it's just kind of like you get looped into it, and then the thoughts become shallow. It takes away your thoughts, and it also takes away like the emotional feelings, because your feelings are created by your just regular concentrated, like relaxed thoughts. So you have, if you're just have regular thought flow, no anxiety looping, and you think a sad thought, or what, it doesn't have to be sad, I mean like a romantic thought, it'll make you start crying and everything, and that's all fantastic, those type of, the crying emotion, fantastic. It's not a sad emotion or a bad emotion. It's totally different from depression, anxiety. So anyways, I got, as far as the biofeedback, and a big part of that was actually that I couldn't do any muscle tensions to get the brainwaves to flow. So I had to try to not do it while also doing that. That's key. So I'm just saying how complicated it would be for someone to get stuck in it, and probably why I'm the only one in the world that's ever gotten stuck in it in this particular way, even though it's so very, very, very real. What's the most horrific pain there is. Because in any case, so that fear thought. So like I can induce it really easily. All I do is just think of the type of tension feeling that it is, in any place on my face, anywhere. You just think of it, which, because I know the feeling of it, so then it's there, and then I fear that feeling, and combined with trying to stop that feeling is what loops you into that feeling. And then you're looped into, your attention is on that feeling, your concentration is on that feeling. And so the total opposite needs to happen to get out of it, right? Get your concentration, which is actually the cause, because you're concentrating on the feeling in of itself. Your concentration and trying to stop the feeling within the feeling itself. All this doesn't work. It makes it worse because you're just increasing your concentration, your thinking of it, without even really knowing it. And for one thing, when you get in this, your thoughts become shallow as well. So you're so intermixed with the feeling of this anxiety type of tension. But you need to get your thoughts, your concentration. Notice what they're on. They're on that feeling. They're on maybe even the feeling to try to stop them, which doesn't work. Trying to undo it doesn't work, because your mind and body automatically doesn't do that. No animals, no anything. They automatically just see the outside world and they think about what to do, how to manipulate it. Will automatically stop if you take your concentration away from this and put it onto anything else, right? Your body's doing this as a response to your mind. Basically, it's trying to say, I want to think less. I want to think. That's what it thinks it's doing. More like, I don't want my emotions to get away from me. So I want to just just shut off the emotions. And this is the way it does this. So it shuts off the emotions by causing this internal tension. Because you could have an emotional flow that's very angry at somebody, and maybe that could cause something very dangerous to your survival, especially in this day and age where they have invented a gun that a person might have. If I'm getting pissed off and I'm fully relaxed and I'm like, maybe want to get in a fight. I'm just saying what the kind of mathematical functions of this is. It's a bad thing for it to do this. Bad for your health, but that's what it does, and that's how it does it. Because the emotional feelings might get me into a dangerous situation. You're turning off this emotional feelings, and the thoughts are going towards this new feeling, which is tension, which perpetrates it and holds it there. But also it's blocking your thoughts from, say, caring about somebody disrespecting you. You won't care anymore because you'll be so self-absorbed in this bad feeling that you're kind of stuck in. So in that kind of particular way, it keeps you a little bit safer. You don't like this. Like if I were to explain to somebody what I did, and then they said, oh, well, I'll do that. And they went and did that, and then they stopped doing it, and they're like, oh yeah, I kind of did it now. And then I'd say, wait a second, how did you stop doing it? And they would say, well, I just stopped doing it. And it's like, well, that's what I want to do. How do you stop doing it? I guess they would say, well, I stopped concentrating on that and then put my concentration back onto you. What was the difference between why I'm not stopping it? Because I'm trying to stop it within the feeling itself, when really it is my attention that caused it. Now, you want to take your attention and put it back out like the other person would be. To take your attention into this feeling, this glorified self-consciousness thing, and put your attention, as in concentration, on the other, right? Definitely. You want to stop it, but that's how you have to stop it, is because you have to realize that it's because your thinking is on this, but you're thinking onto that. And this goes in degrees, where I can be really hard tense or just a little bit tense, all that stuff, because it is a multitasking type of thing. So like I can drive and listen to music and have a conversation at the same time. I can multitask here, but when the traffic gets real bad, or then I have to concentrate more on my driving and not on the conversation, okay? Have a little bit of tensions, and the goal is to not have any thoughts, any concentration. It's okay to have multiple thoughts. It doesn't have to be always just only focused on one thing at a time in the present moment, although that's the best way of feeling. It can be multi thoughts too, as long as there's just no concentration on this particular anxiety feeling that you super induce by trying to control it within the feeling itself, where you're just looped on like the fear of it. You feel the feeling, and then you fear the feeling. You try to get out of the feeling within the feeling itself. That sticks you in the feeling perpetually, like a loop. But that's not quite enough for me, because internal, where I'm actually kind of like scared to do kind of external, like this, right? You think like that has something to do with the internal tension? It doesn't. I can focus as hard as I can. I can try to induce even more of the anxiety, okay? And then, trying to get a gut feeling. Try to think of things that maybe could make you angry. I mean, I got stuck. The latest thing that I was stuck in, it was a type of thing where you are blocking the thoughts and feelings. I got into this thing where I don't want to feel any anger or hate, or any anger thoughts or hate, or those feelings, or whatever, type of emotional reactions in any way. And I became this super wimpy, trying to be nice boy. I could barely even talk. I was so and I couldn't feel anything. Finally, I was just like, man, I want to feel some anger. Give me some anger. Any emotion, sure, like happiness, emotion. You need to feel some emotions. Go ahead and, and get those emotions however you want. Don't fear the feeling of it. Take control of that feeling. The exterior tensing is fine, and so is even the internal tension. Go ahead and do that. Whenever you're feeling it, try to feel it even more, or try to do it even more. So do the opposite of what you're doing, which is you're feeling it and you're trying to not feel it. Do the opposite. Feel more, and yeah, now I can totally get rid of it. Because I'm doing the opposite. You found out that not only does this not work, but it's really like the cause of it. So do that in reverse. So it is the concentration of it, your thoughts going into it, is the cause. Because when you start fearing it, all it does is just add more concentration of it. But also not fear that. Not fear the doing of it as well. It's a particular type of tension that's anxiety, inflammation induced. I call it tenuption, which is tension up in head, even though let's not really refer to it as a tension, even though it is a tension, but it's an inflammation type of tension. Okay, try to do as much external, even tension into you, and also just get the concentration out. A lot of times when you start getting like a gut feeling, you can at least, it's better to latch onto that too. The mushrooms should always be helpful. There's different varieties, and you can take a bad med, but most varieties of mushrooms will make you feel good. Varieties of mushrooms will give you this good feeling. You just need some sort of good feeling to latch onto, sometimes to be able to help you kick you out of that concentration of the bad feeling of the anxiety, to latch onto that good feeling, good thoughts, and move your concentration to the exterior. Realize it's my concentration on it that's causing it, and then you can continue to not concentrate on it. That it's your concentration, your thoughts on it, your attention to it, that is the main cause of it. And then also they're trying to get more powerful in your feelings. Thoughts will grow deeper and more imaginative, like more clear and everything, because you're not multitasking into the tension in the thoughts at the same time. Now your thoughts can be full on thoughts, and then and your feelings will flow with the thoughts. And at that point, all you do is just keep just staying in this thought flow, and also keeping your thoughts happy and positive, because you also don't want to go negative or sad or fearful just in general, because that can cause depression. If you start looping the sadness thoughts, that can cause depressions. And if you start looping the fearful thoughts, future fearful thoughts, and you stay on it, you feel that feeling and you stay on that feeling of it, that can loop you into just an anxiety. And this is how you can get looped into anxiety. That's how you can get looped into tension. Sad thoughts of the past, looped, you feel it, you start concentrating on the feeling of it in of itself, you can get locked into depression. Fearful thoughts of the future, you feel that fear, you loop it, real focused on the feeling of it, you can get locked into an anxiety. And then how do you get out of it? Same type of method, same methods. Take control of your concentration that is on that feeling, even the feeling of trying to control it. You put that concentration onto something else, and also you put some power into it. You put some power into it, and in whatever that fearful feeling is, go ahead and induce it more. It's not. Don't do that, because the opposite of you concentrating on trying to not do it, actually just, your brain doesn't work that way. It actually just makes that feeling harder and stronger and worse. So you do the opposite, in which go with it. I'll take control of that feeling, and also I keep my concentration on everything else. And then the more you get the concentration, that releases, it goes to relaxed emotional feelings that flow with your thoughts. Then just keep thinking and feeling, and you can go deeper into the thoughts, and you can be fully out of the tension and sadness feelings, and take complete control of your mind and body again. So that's about it.